Have you ever looked at someone and wondered what is truly happening inside their mind when they refuse to process a simple, logical point? We live in a society obsessed with superficial metrics, degrees, titles, and vocabulary. But real cognitive capacity has nothing to do with what someone memorized in a classroom. The most accurate markers of mental capacity are hidden within the invisible habits of everyday conversation and behavior. Most people walk around believing they possess above-average intelligence, which mathematically cannot be true. Today, we are going to expose the 8 undeniable behavioral traits of a person with lower cognitive flexibility. Pay close attention, because recognizing these exact patterns might save you from countless hours of pointless frustration. Traits 1 to 4. The mental limitations. The first defining trait is an absolute refusal to see the complex gray areas in life. True intelligence is the ability to hold opposing ideas in your mind simultaneously and still function. However, a limited mind cannot process that level of mental complexity. To their brain, everything must be entirely good or entirely bad. Processing multi-layered information requires massive internal energy. A brain with lower processing power instinctively protects itself from exhaustion by oversimplifying the world. When you hear someone constantly using extremes like always or never, you are witnessing a mind trying to shrink a complicated universe into easily digestible pieces. This naturally leads us to the second trait, an overwhelming sense of unearned certainty. True intelligence is always accompanied by a healthy dose of self-doubt because smart individuals know exactly how much they do not know. Conversely, lower cognitive ability consistently breeds absolute confidence. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. They literally do not possess the necessary cognitive skills required to recognize their own glaring incompetence. The third deeply ingrained trait is the complete inability to separate personal emotion from objective reality. For a highly developed mind, facts dictate feelings. If established facts change, their understanding changes. For someone operating with lower intelligence, this process is reversed. Their temporary feelings dictate the permanent facts. If a new piece of information makes them feel insecure, they automatically categorize that information as false. The fourth undeniable trait is a desperate need to physically dominate conversations through volume and endless repetition, rather than intellectual substance. When a mind lacks the necessary depth to form a well-reasoned counterargument, it automatically relies on raw aggression and loud noise to secure a cheap victory. To them, conversation is never a bridge to understanding. It is a battlefield where they must violently defend their fragile ego. Traits 5 to 8. The defense mechanisms. The fifth clear trait is an intense hostility toward any form of new information. An intelligent, adaptable mind treats its own beliefs like computer software. When a more accurate update comes along, the old system is seamlessly overwritten. A person with lower intelligence treats their beliefs like a permanent tattoo. Because their identity is tied to the few things they think they know, any contradicting evidence is treated as a severe personal attack. Moving directly to the sixth trait, we see a massive breakdown in the basic understanding of cause and effect. This is the inability to accurately visualize the long-term consequences of a current action. Because they struggle with abstract thinking, they only react to what is directly in front of their face. They simply cannot play the mental chess game of thinking 3 steps ahead. The seventh trait is the absolute, paralyzing inability to handle constructive feedback. True growth requires a person to look at their flaws objectively. But when baseline cognitive capacity is low, the ego becomes dangerously fragile. Any gentle attempt to correct their behavior, even if done with the utmost kindness, is immediately perceived as a humiliating attack. Finally, the eighth trait is a chronic reliance on superficial gossip over ideas. Brilliant minds discuss concepts, systems, and philosophies. Average minds discuss events. But a limited mind is entirely consumed by discussing people. Because abstract thoughts require too much cognitive effort, they find comfort in petty judgments, tearing down others to create a false illusion of superiority. Conclusion: protecting your peace. Fully understanding these 8 behavioral traits is absolutely not about walking around the world with a toxic sense of superiority. It is entirely about carefully protecting your own precious peace of mind. When you finally realize that the intensely frustrating person you are arguing with simply does not possess the required mental hardware to process your logical perspective, you can stop wasting your valuable time. You can peacefully let go of the anger that comes from expecting rational behavior from an irrational source. True intelligence is knowing exactly when to speak your mind and when to simply walk away. Subscribe for more insights into the psychology of human behavior.